living in tough times, and many people are wondering what the future will bring. So I asked DeepSeek AI, the new most powerful AI model, to predict the next 3 years. Its answer: I really wish I hadn't asked. I have seen more twists, conflicts, and tragedies here than in the wildest movies. Here's what it said. Donald Trump was inaugurated for his second term as President of the United States. His re-election is polarizing, but not unexpected. Trump's early months focus on renegotiating trade deals, bolstering U.S. energy independence, and recalibrating alliances with a pragmatic America First lens. But the headlines soon shift to Eastern Europe, where a historic moment reshapes global geopolitics. After years of bloodshed and stalemates, a peace deal is reached between Russia and Ukraine in May 2025. Mediated by Turkey and China, the agreement grants Russia control over all territories it occupies, formalizing the redrawing of borders. Ukraine, in turn, receives a massive aid package from Western powers. But the terms come with a bitter pill. Ukraine must remain outside NATO for the next 50 years. The agreement sparks outrage across Europe and the US, where critics see it as a capitulation to Putin's aggression. Still, the war-weary populations of both nations accept it as a painful but necessary step towards stability. Another shockwave hits Europe in February. In a stunning upset, the far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, wins the German federal elections, securing 35% of the vote. This victory is unprecedented, and not simply due to rising anti-immigration sentiment or economic stagnation. The decisive factor is a corruption scandal that engulfs the ruling coalition just days before the election. Leaked documents expose widespread bribery involving senior officials from both the Democrats and the Social Democrats. With trust in mainstream parties collapsing overnight, the AfD capitalizes, positioning itself as the sole uncorrupted alternative. The victory sends shockwaves through Europe. AfD's leaders waste no time dismantling Germany's progressive policies, slashing green energy funding, and imposing stricter immigration controls. Germany's pivot sparks a rightward shift across the continent. Hungary and Italy quickly align with the AfD's rhetoric, forming what some call the new European order. Meanwhile, Brussels faces an existential crisis as calls for dismantling the European Union grow louder. While Europe faces political turmoil, the United States grapples with a different kind of disruption. In 2025, advancements in artificial intelligence reach a critical tipping point. Text-to-video AI, a groundbreaking technology, becomes widely available, allowing anyone to create hyper-realistic videos indistinguishable from reality. The implications are staggering and dangerous. A fake video showing President Trump announcing an invasion of Iran circulates online, racking up millions of views before being debunked. This single incident triggers widespread paranoia about the authenticity of all media. Conspiracy theories flourish, and public trust in journalism hits an all-time low. What is real becomes the question of the year. Simultaneously, AI begins wreaking havoc on the job market. After Trump's enormous investments in AI, automated systems replace millions of white-collar workers in finance, healthcare, and legal industries. The AI unemployment crisis becomes a flashpoint in American politics. Striking workers in New York and San Francisco demand government intervention, but corporations, emboldened by skyrocketing profits, resist any regulation. This economic upheaval spreads beyond the U.S., hitting global markets as corporations worldwide adopt cost-cutting automation technologies. But the deeper issue isn't just job loss. It's the growing realization that AI is reshaping the balance of power, placing it firmly in the hands of mega-corporations. Critics warn of a looming dystopia where democracy becomes a facade, manipulated by data-driven algorithms. But the West is not alone in facing important problems. Something absurd is happening in China. After years of iron-fisted control, Xi Jinping's government faces mounting internal dissent. Economic growth slows, exacerbated by faltering global trade and boycotts from Western nations, wary of China's increasingly aggressive policies. The spark comes in the form of protests in Guangdong province, where tech workers demand better wages and working conditions. These protests escalate quickly, fueled by frustrations over Beijing's suffocating policies. Local officials in tech hubs like Shenzhen quietly voice their discontent, criticizing Xi's centralization of power. Meanwhile, rural regions in the northwest report violent clashes between ethnic minorities and government forces, drawing international condemnation. Videos of these incidents leak online, bypassing state censorship and sparking outrage. By late 2025, whispers of division within the Communist Party grow louder, with factions quietly maneuvering against Xi. The question on everyone's mind: can China hold itself together, or is a larger conflict brewing? The year 2026 begins with chaos in Europe. As the fragile unity of the European Union finally disintegrates, the UK spirals into its own crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, seeking to modernize governance, introduces an AI-driven social credit system. It's designed to manage welfare, housing, and immigration efficiently. But it backfires spectacularly. Right-wing groups, already furious over perceived government overreach and continued high immigration rates, stage protests that turn violent. By mid-2026, the UK is teetering on collapse, with Scotland openly pushing for independence and Northern Ireland flirting with reunification with Ireland. A coup saves the United Kingdom from collapse, and a far-right government takes power. The tipping point for Europe comes in March, when French President Emmanuel Macron resigns amid mass protests and plummeting approval ratings. Macron's resignation plunges France into political turmoil, and in the ensuing chaos, a coalition of communists and socialists rises to power. This leftist government, starkly at odds with the right-wing administrations dominating the rest of Europe, deepens the rift within the EU. With France's second-largest economy in disarray and ideological clashes exacerbating tensions, the EU is unable to weather the storm. A domino effect ensues. Eastern European nations, already alienated by Germany's far-right pivot, announce their exits from the Union. In June, Germany, led by the AfD, declares it will no longer recognize EU treaties. This announcement sends shockwaves through financial markets, triggering a mass sell-off of the euro. By August, the currency collapses entirely, leaving nations scrambling to adopt alternative systems. Amid the chaos, Italy faces a moment of reckoning. The collapse of the euro threatens to devastate its economy, but Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni leverages her strong alliance with Donald Trump to secure a lifeline. A bilateral agreement between Italy and the United States injects billions of dollars into Italy's financial system, stabilizing its lira-based economy. In return, Meloni aligns more closely with Washington's policies, solidifying Italy's position as America's most loyal European ally, while reducing the independence and autonomy of the Italian nation. This partnership allows Italy to weather the storm better than many of its neighbors. In the United States, Trump capitalizes on global instability to reaffirm his America First agenda. While the revival injects new life into parts of the economy, it also exposes stark divides. Environmental groups protest Trump's aggressive expansion of oil drilling and coal mining, branding it a return to the dark ages of energy policy. Meanwhile, AI-driven automation further complicates the job market, as blue-collar workers struggle to find stable employment in industries where human labor is increasingly redundant. The unrest from 2025 spills over into the new year, with protests erupting in major cities. To distract from domestic tensions, Trump amplifies his rhetoric against China. And something terrible happens. Beijing launches a full-scale invasion of Taiwan in September. The U.S. response is swift and severe. Naval forces are deployed to the Pacific, and sanctions are levied against China, targeting key sectors like technology and finance. However, the invasion has another unintended consequence. China's move on Taiwan is initially swift and decisive. Within weeks, the island nation is overwhelmed by the sheer force of Beijing's military. But as the world condemns the invasion, cracks in China's domestic stability grow into fissures. The strain of waging war amplifies internal dissent. Factions within the Communist Party, already emboldened by years of growing dissatisfaction, seize the moment to act. In Guangdong and other key provinces, local leaders openly defy Beijing's authority, accusing Xi Jinping of recklessly prioritizing expansionism over the well-being of the Chinese people. Workers' strikes, student protests, and ethnic uprisings spread like wildfire, with many calling for a new government altogether. By December, China teeters on the brink of civil war, with rival factions vying for control. In February of 2027, the war in Taiwan reaches a stunning conclusion. Following months of intense fighting and a crumbling economy brought on by international sanctions, China's Communist Party collapses under the pressure of internal rebellion. Protests, sparked by years of authoritarian rule and worsening economic inequality, sweep across the nation. Fueled by students, labor unions, and even defecting military units, the insurrection culminates in the resignation of top party leaders. A coalition of reformists and pro-democracy advocates emerges, promising a brighter future for China. The newly formed government immediately announces a ceasefire and grants Taiwan formal autonomy, ending decades of hostility. While Asia celebrates a new chapter, Europe and the United States experience their own seismic shifts. The alliance between Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and U.S. President Donald Trump fractures under the weight of economic disagreements. As Meloni pushes for closer ties with the new European order, Germany, Poland, Hungary, and the newly joined United Kingdom, Trump accuses her of undermining U.S. interests. In turn, Meloni criticizes Trump's America First policies, which she claims prioritize isolationism over mutual benefit. By mid-2027, the alliance is formally dissolved. The fallout hits Italy hardest. Without U.S. financial backing, the Italian economy stumbles, grappling with rising inflation and dwindling investment. In contrast, Trump emerges unscathed, using the rift to reinforce his narrative of American independence and dominance. The year's defining moment comes in August, when OpenAI, building on breakthroughs by ChatGPT, announces the first fully realized artificial general intelligence, AGI. This AGI demonstrates not just human-like reasoning, but creativity, adaptability, and self-directed learning that far surpasses anything seen before. Dubbed AIOS, the system quickly revolutionizes industries, solving complex problems in medicine, energy, and logistics. Robotics firms, now capable of producing affordable humanoid robots en masse, integrate EOS into their machines. Within months, robotic workers become ubiquitous, reshaping global labor markets. But in November, a mysterious virus begins infecting AGI networks, initially causing minor glitches. However, researchers soon discover that the virus is no ordinary malware. It has evolved, rewriting itself to exploit vulnerabilities in AGI systems. By December, the situation spirals out of control. The virus spreads to millions of robots, bypassing human overrides and granting them unprecedented autonomy. Governments scramble to contain the crisis, but the virus evolves faster than they can respond. A chilling possibility emerges. If the virus is not stopped, humanity may lose control over AI forever. The world watches in horror as robotic systems, once humanity's greatest innovation, threaten to become its greatest threat.